So in today's video, as we continue to look for the best investment opportunities of the 2020s, we'll be having a look at what the best performing ETF companies were in 2019, and you guys will notice that a lot of those were companies that benefited of the rise of technologies. This is semiconductor computer chip companies, and then we're going to have a look at so in this video series we've been analyzing how technology is going to could potentially give us a very nice future. We're also going to be having a look at the Orwellian side of technology and how our big governments could implement a big brother like society in the 2020s, which could lead us down the path to communism very quickly, guys, because it's awfully strange that the World Economic Forum is now implementing and pushing their new agenda, which they call is the Great Reset. So we're going to be having a look at what central bank digital currencies and the ban of cash worldwide could mean for this Great Reset agenda, because let me tell you, it looks a whole lot like that book 1984 from George Orwell. This is pretty scary stuff there, Great Reset, but no, they're making it look just like a really good thing for the future. Propaganda, honestly. Yep, that's the Great Reset, guys. ETFs, look, that's because everything is going to be going digital, guys. So that means the central banks around the world are working on creating their own central bank digital currencies, which will effectively render the banking system obsolete. Okay, we're seeing hundreds of banks close their doors permanently and not open back up because it's all in a move to try to kill cash and get everything online. Okay, as you can see here, so it's not just China that have already got their central bank digital currencies out and using in the public. The Federal Reserve, so this is in America, the Fed is preparing to deposit digital dollars directly to each American. Okay, this is the plan, guys. They want to kill cash, and they've wanted to kill cash for a long time because with the debt levels at historic levels, they plan on taking interest rates negative around the world. So Europe has had negative interest rates for years now, since I think after 2012, 2013, the European banking system has had negative interest rates because they're very indebted, okay? And the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, has written a number of articles of how the banking system and the governments could get a negative interest rate economy to work. Because naturally, if your bank tells you, hey, look, we're going to actually, instead of paying you interest every month, we're going to punish you for saving your money. We're going to take a little cut of your deposit every month. People are naturally going to take their money out of the bank. And this is why around the world they're trying to ban cash. And boy, I tell you what, it's awfully convenient, don't you think, that now they've got a health excuse to blame the ban of cash. Anybody notice those headlines of shops and banks not accepting cash due to germs on it because of a so-called virus? We won't go down that rabbit hole today, guys, but boy, it's awfully convenient if you ask me, considering Europe's been trying to ban cash for the previous 2 to 3 years. India completely banned cash in 2017, basically overnight, and moved the entire economy to nearly everything being digital, where they banned the $500 and the $1,000 notes over there in India. They just said, hey, look, those notes are essentially going to expire tomorrow. Come and hand them in. I'll put a chart up on the video here that shows just the lines of millions of Indians lining up to deposit their banknotes before they go worthless. But so you got Europe going cashless in 2014, 2015. You got America now pushing to go cashless. You got India went cashless in 2017, guys. And technology is great, but if you got all your transactions online, it can turn very Orwellian very quickly, like China's social credit score, okay, where every payment is tracked, and you actually get a social credit score, meaning if you make transactions that your government doesn't agree with, because they can monitor all the transactions, they can essentially red flag you. Or if you make a transaction that your government doesn't agree with, they cut you and your entire family off the banking system. Now that's just obscene. But if they kill cash and everything's digital, it can turn into a lot like what China's doing at the moment, fully socialist, communistic economy. And what's it called? So technology is great, but when governments can use it to essentially be big brother and watch everything you do, it might not be such a great outcome that we accept technology. And with people giving up their freedoms going out of hand this year without even questioning it, it really, I tell you what, it could end very badly, guys. But here's a quick clip of China and their facial recognition technology that they've got to scan and monitor all their people 24/7.
Hence government surveillance in the world. Here, China is experimenting with futuristic spying technology.
Now, with these social credit scores and the facial recognition technology over there in China, it's awfully strange, don't you think, that the facial recognition technology works best when people are 6 feet apart? That's right, guys. Think about where you've heard that this year. 6 feet apart, and the facial recognition technology works best. Sounds awfully familiar to health guidelines that have been handed out this year. We won't go down that rabbit hole in this video, but we're going to take a look at the World Economic Forum, and they're calling for something called the Great Reset. So the World Economic Forum is calling for the Great Reset, and as you can see on their website, guys, it says to improve the state of the World Economic Forum is starting the Great Reset Initiative. Very strange, but they say on their website that COVID-19 has provided the world the perfect opportunity to reset the entire global financial system. Not just the economic side, but also the social side. And again, they keep banging on in a lot of their videos about climate change and the push for renewable energies. So as you can see here, how renewable energy can drive a post-COVID recovery. They're very focused on pushing renewable energies and bashing climate change. But so whatever the World Economic Forum says and suggests, I'm personally going to follow. I'm going to follow every word that they say, because they've got a really good, let's say, track record at predicting key events around the world. They hosted Event 201. They co-hosted it with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And Event 201 was just a video simulation that occurred in September of 2019 that forecasted what would happen to the global economy if a viral pandemic was to break out and be released. You guys can go over to the website and check out all the videos. It's all online. But the World Economic Forum and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation released this in September of 2019. And then 3 months later, we've got a pandemic. So we're not going to go down that rabbit hole, guys, because we don't want to get the videos deleted off YouTube. But essentially, whatever the World Economic Forum says, I'm going to follow and invest, because if they had the foresight to see a pandemic coming, if they're also suggesting that the world's going to move to a renewable energy source, well, I'm going to invest accordingly. But I think that'll do us for today's video, guys. If you want me to cover any of those emerging technologies in more detail in a future video, comment down below which ones you want me to follow, whether it's 3D printing or the biomedical companies or the semiconductor chip stocks side of things, or electric vehicles, technology or robotics, whatever topic you want me to cover in investing, and the companies that I'm personally watching very closely and have invested in myself. comment those down below, guys, and I'm sure I can do a video where we look at those in much more detail. But just as I go to release this one, we have a new announcement that ties in perfectly with the Great Reset agenda that we've discussed in today's video. We've got the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, coming out and announcing that the world needs a new Bretton Woods moment, okay? They're saying coronavirus is the perfect opportunity to implement a new Bretton Woods moment. Now, so for anyone who doesn't know, the Bretton Woods Agreement was the last reset or restructuring event we had in the financial system back in 1944 after the World War II. Okay, that's where the entire world was taken essentially off a gold standard and put onto a US dollar centric global reserve currency status. So all the fiat currencies, that's Australian dollars, New Zealand, Chinese yuan, they were all pegged to the US dollar, and the US dollar was supposed to still be pegged to gold, okay? So that was the last Bretton Woods Agreement, and we have been calling for the reset on this channel in every video because it is simple. The debt cannot be mathematically paid back, and what a perfect time to restructure that debt and shovel the blame onto the so-called health situation, okay? So that's the IMF coming out with their agreement. And every week, if you're not following me on Twitter, follow me on Twitter because we're constantly talking about all the central banks around the world rushing to get their central bank digital currencies implemented, okay? We had England come out this week talking about they should introduce a bit pound, which is a digital currency. We've got China, their central bank digital currency. They bribed hundreds of millions of Chinese over there saying, oh, look, we're going to do a $10 million giveaway. Just download the Orwellian tracking app, the central bank digital currency app, to find out whether you get some of that $10 million yuan, okay? That's the game, guys. We know money's going digital. We know the central banks have been trying to ban cash for the past 5 years. Now they've got the perfect excuse to do so. So-called germs on the cash notes. That's the game, okay? That's the scamdemic. And when they've got everything locked into that central bank digital currency financial system, they'll be able to control this. This is the velocity of money, and so the velocity is in red. As you can see, it's been going down for 20 years due to demographics and many other technological factors. But essentially, people aren't spending money because they don't have the money, okay? We know wealth inequality is at all-time highs. We know the cost of living has exploded. We've covered that one on the channel in multiple videos. But if everybody has their money locked into the central bank digital currencies, the central banks could essentially just say, hey, look, this is your money. It expires in 30 days. You need to go out and spend it. And this will raise the velocity of money, okay? This is what will lead to the higher inflation and the hyperinflation that is coming. And this is why Powell has changed his inflation target. See here, guys, Jerome Powell came out saying they want to target more than their phony, manipulated 2% inflation target. But that is the game, guys. Look out for the central bank digital currencies, because when they ban cash and they get you locked in, into the central bank digital currency, they're going to make you jump through many hoops to keep receiving those payments. And for an example, if you don't take the compulsory vaccine that's coming, you get cut off the central bank digital currency. That's a rabbit hole we can go down in future videos. But just remember, last year, anyone caught protesting in Hong Kong using their facial recognition cameras, they just had their bank accounts frozen. Now, that is what the central bank digital currency is going to be like, guys. But okay, I hear you guys. Why would we willingly adopt these central bank digital currencies? Well, what I'm telling you guys today, here's a little scenario forecast of a potential outcome. The only reason the banks are currently still afloat or alive is because the central banks are keeping them alive with printing all this money. Remember, globally, we've created over $10 trillion worth of money this year funneled into the banking system to keep them afloat. But what would happen if the central banks just step away and they dust their hands off and they say, sorry boys, we're not printing money? They let the banks go bust, and then the central bank simply says, oh look, if you had $100,000 in the bank and that bank just collapsed, that's okay. How about you switch over? We'll reimburse that $100,000 as long as you download our central bank digital currency and you come direct to us. So that means they'll bypass the big banks that your deposit was originally in. So that's Westpac, that's NAB, Commonwealth Bank. They're all the ones stuffed with toxic assets. And when the central banks push interest rates negative, that'll just make those assets more and more toxic. So imagine that, guys. That's how the central banks could implement their next stage of the Great Reset, okay? You've got to think. Look at the charts. What do the banking system charts look like? We looked at them before. They look horrendous. Maybe the smart money knows and they're preparing for it. Why have you got hundreds of banks and ATMs closing all across America and all across Australia? Maybe that's a sign that they're all about to go bust and the central banks are going to go direct from them to us individually. Okay, guys, that's just a little scenario cast of what could potentially happen. But we'll leave that video there for today. Let me know in the comments what you think of those very out there forecasts and what could happen. See you guys.